Why did Beyonce and Jay-Z buy an $88 million home with a mortgage? They're worth $1.8 billion. Like, shouldn't they just pay with cash?
Is Beyonce's natural hair care line, and I feel like a lot of people have failed to connect with why she's even
Just because you've amassed a large following or audience does not mean that you have a strong personal brand. In order to have a strong personal brand that you can build ventures off of, you need a really strong connection with your audience. Because at the end of the day, your audience are your consumers. And consumers need to understand how that product or brand aligns with who you are as a person. Beyonce has tried launching ventures in the past, like Ivy Park, and unfortunately, they haven't worked. Beyonce and Jay-Z have been notorious for keeping their lives private, which at the end of the day has benefited them, and I completely understand. But don't be surprised when it's time to launch a new brand or product that people can't connect to it because they haven't been able to connect to you personally in years.
The prices for Beyonce's highly anticipated Cowboy Carter tour are dropping like a lot. Just months ago, a fan could expect to spend up to $800 for a pre-sale ticket to the opening night in the tour in Los Angeles. But hours before the concert, tickets had dipped to as low as $57.
Time now for a big story making waves in the music world. It looks like all the single ladies are staying home as Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour, it is struggling to sell out.
For over 20 years, Beyonce has played the game of silence better than anyone, letting her music, visuals, and jaw-dropping performances keep the world hooked. But behind that flawless, diamond-polished image, there are chapters the Hive doesn't talk about. Moves she made outside of music that didn't sparkle nearly as bright as her stage lights. See, the queen has dipped her toes in plenty of industries beyond the mic. And while some projects came in hot with early buzz, many fizzled out quietly, disappearing without answers. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the side of Beyonce's empire that her loyal fans rarely acknowledge. The side she probably hopes stays buried. Let's rewind to 2004. Beyonce announced her fashion line, House of Darion. It wasn't just another celebrity vanity project. It was meant to be her big leap from music royalty to fashion powerhouse. Co-created with her mother, Tina Lawson, aka Tacky Tina to her critics, the brand carried Beyonce's bloodline in its very name, honoring her grandmother, Agnes Darion. The vision? A bold mix of cutting-edge style and soulful elegance. Backed by Beyonce and Tina's own company, Beyond Productions, LLC, the label promised ready-to-wear clothing that pulled from vintage influences of the 1940s and 1970s, reimagined with a modern twist. And let's not forget, Tina wasn't just any momager. She was the genius who stitched Destiny's Child's iconic stage looks, proving she had an eye for fashion that could grab attention. On paper, it seemed like the perfect recipe: superstar daughter, fashion-savvy mother, family legacy, and a killer name. So the question is, what could possibly go wrong? The early rollout of House of Darion looked like a dream come true. Celebrity endorsements were pouring in, high-profile runway shows were making noise, and Beyonce even snagged a retail partnership with Bloomingdale's, major league status right there. She fronted the brand herself in the spring 2009 campaign, filmed all the way in Bermuda, and the vibe was pure luxury. According to the New York Times, the first-year projections were sky high. Tens of millions in sales were expected. Not long after, they even dropped a junior line called Darion, aimed at younger buyers. But here's where the shine started to crack. From day one, critics were side-eyeing the clothes. The reviews? Brutal. People called the pieces messy, overly busy, and sometimes flat-out cheap-looking. Fashion experts said it looked more like merch for Beyonce's image than a real fashion brand. Others claimed the line didn't even know who it was selling to. One day it looked street, the next day it looked vintage glam, and shoppers were left confused. By 2010, the brand was already on life support in America, pulling out of U.S. stores and shifting focus overseas to European department stores. That move might have saved face for a minute, but the numbers didn't lie. Sales in Europe tanked too. Just 2 years later, the brand had to crawl back to the U.S., and the drama behind the scenes was getting messy. British Vogue reported the CEO, Philip Davis, dipped out. Then Women's Wear Daily revealed employees were getting dropped left and right. The whole company was shrinking. The junior line? Discontinued. And not long after, House of Darion itself was gone. Vanished like it never existed. And here's the kicker. Beyonce never said a word about the flop. Fashion insiders whispered to The Guardian that the downfall came from chasing too many trends at once instead of building a signature look. Translation? Star power can open doors, but it can't make people swipe their cards if the clothes don't hit.
Me in this article because a couple of months I said Rihanna did what I thought Beyonce would do when it comes to building a business. And what I mean by this is, and Beehive, don't kill me, but Beyonce does not have a strong personal brand. Yes, she is a celebrity, but she does not have a strong personal brand whatsoever. That's why any venture that she pursues outside of music, if you notice, it doesn't do that well. And the core reason behind that is Beyonce has, in a way, made her life so private and herself kind of unreachable that when she puts out a product, it's hard for us to connect to the product because we can't really connect to her as a human. We don't believe that she's using the things that she's selling us. The perfume, House of Darion, even the collaboration with Adidas. You would think that it would go crazy the same way Yeezy did.
In 2010, Beyonce stepped into the fragrance game with her debut scent, Heat, and the name couldn't have been more fitting. The launch was massive, with reports claiming the fragrance raked in a jaw-dropping $400 million worldwide. It quickly became the best-selling celebrity fragrance brand on the planet, proving that Queen Bey could dominate outside of music too. But the fire didn't burn forever. Follow-ups like Heat Rush, Pulse, and Midnight Heat just couldn't live up to the original's explosive numbers. As the perfume world got flooded with every celebrity under the sun dropping their own scents, Beyonce's line lost its spark. By 2013, the once high-end perfumes were being spotted in drugstores on heavy discount racks. Every shopper's clue that the hype train had officially slowed down. Even the licensing company that had bragged about Beyonce's success started quietly shifting attention to newer celebrity collabs, leaving Heat to collect dust in the background. Fast forward to 2019, and Beyonce switched lanes again, this time teaming up with her longtime trainer, Marco Borges, to launch 22 Days Nutrition, a vegan, organic, gluten-free, soy-free meal delivery service.
We're gonna go 100% plant-based from now through Coachella.
I'm back on the stage after giving birth to twins. I was a woman that felt like my body was not mine.
We know the power of vegetables, we know the power of plants, we know the power of foods that are unprocessed and as close to nature as possible.
If Beyonce put her name on a cleaning company, would you inquire to use her services? If Kim Kardashian started her own law firm, would you register to become one of its clients? In the past, people would buy anything that a celebrity would put their name on because it aligned with the times. But now things are different. The reason why a lot of celebrity brands have failed is because they assume that their large audience is just going to jump on their next product. When Jennifer launched her Latin restaurant, Madras, it closed after 6 years of very bad reviews. It was also a brand misalignment. When people think of Jennifer, I don't think they think food. She tried to be different by launching a restaurant because not many celebrities were doing this at the time. Maybe she didn't want to be predictable by launching something related to fitness, tanning, or her amazing body. But I actually think this would have made way more sense. The biggest mistakes that some brands make is trying to be so different that they forget the whole point of a business is customers and sales, which means asking yourself, what does the audience want? What gap can I fill that I'm also qualified to fill, that is authentic to the brand that I've been building, and won't just be a situation of slapping my name on it? And then there was the pricing. The fans felt like they were paying celebrity premium prices for food that they considered subpar. Consumers gave JLo's restaurant a chance because of her brand name, but after that, she had to bring the quality.
The pitch? Ride the clean eating wave and give fans a taste of Bey's disciplined lifestyle. At first, the idea looked golden, but backlash came hard and fast, especially from health experts. A spokesperson for the British Association for Nutrition and Lifestyle Medicine even warned that the program's super low calories could be dangerous, potentially leading to nutritional deficiencies. That kind of heat wasn't the good kind. By late 2016, the buzz had vanished. Media coverage dried up, and the flashy delivery service was quietly restructured into just another product-based site with meal planning features. The original subscription service, the whole hook that made it special, gone. Discontinued without Beyonce ever saying a word about it. Beyonce's first big swing at athleisure came in 2016 with the launch of Ivy Park, a flashy 50-50 partnership with Topshop's billionaire owner, Sir Philip Green. The debut collection was pure chaos in the best way. Shelves were cleared within hours, and fans couldn't get enough. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. By 2018, Sir Philip was drowning in sexual harassment and racial abuse allegations. The scandal was so toxic that Beyonce swooped in and bought out his entire 50% stake. On the surface, the buyout looked like a power move, but fashion insiders whispered to Business of Fashion that Ivy Park's retail relationships were already poisoned by the controversy. Brands didn't want their names tied to Philip Green's mess, no matter who his business partner was. By early 2020, Beyonce tried to revive the fire by relaunching Ivy Park under Adidas. At first, it looked like redemption. Those first drops sold out instantly, with fans bragging about snagging pieces online. But once the hype wore off, sales fell off a cliff. By 2023, the Wall Street Journal revealed the brutal truth. Ivy Park sales dropped over 50% in just 1 year, pulling in around $40 million compared to Adidas's ambitious $250 million projection. The gap was embarrassing. By March 2023, Ivy Park and Adidas called it quits, mutually agreeing to part ways after disappointing sales and so-called creative differences. Translation? It just wasn't working. And that's not the only misstep on Bey's business resume. Remember Parkwood Entertainment? Founded back in 2008, the company teamed up with Sony Music and TriStar Pictures to release the film Cadillac Records. Beyonce starred as the legendary Etta James and even won a Grammy for her version of At Last. But the film itself, a straight-up flop. According to Box Office Mojo, the movie cost $12 million to make and only pulled in about $9 million worldwide, losing millions despite Beyonce's star power. Dang! Talk about a roller coaster! After the flop of Cadillac Records, Parkwood came back swinging in 2009 with the thriller Obsessed, starring Beyonce and Idris Elba. This time, the gamble paid off big at the box office, pulling in over $70 million worldwide on just a $20 million budget. But while the money was good, the reviews were brutal. Critics tore the film apart, and one writer at The Ringer even labeled Beyonce a bad actress. Imagine making millions but still getting dragged like that. Not shaken by the criticism, Parkwood Entertainment expanded its empire, transforming into a management company and imprint label under Columbia Records. Beyonce stacked her team with assistants, executives, creative directors, visual gurus, brand managers, you name it. The mission? Redefine her image and cement her grip on pop culture. In 2011, she made her boldest move yet, firing her own father, Matthew Knowles, after accusations that he was pocketing her money. From then on, she ran her career herself through Parkwood, overseeing her albums, documentaries, and TV specials. She also started signing new talent, including rising stars like the Bailey sisters, Chloe and Halle, who quickly earned buzz as proteges of the queen herself. But in 2023, the empire cracked again when Beyonce faced backlash over Chloe Bailey's debut album, In Pieces. Despite all the hype around Chloe, the album dropped with almost no visible push from Beyonce. No Instagram post, no congratulatory tweet, nothing. Fans noticed loudly. The project sold just 10,000 copies in its first week, landing at a depressing number 119 on the Billboard charts. Social media exploded with theories. On Twitter and TikTok, fans accused Beyonce of deliberately letting Chloe flop, sabotaging her by withholding the superstar cosign that could have boosted sales. Others argued Bey was playing it safe, protecting her own spotless image by distancing herself in case the album tanked. Either way, the silence from Beyonce was deafening, and the internet turned it into a full-blown scandal. Whether Beyonce's silence on Chloe's flop was a cold-blooded business move or just flat-out disinterest, the story took on a life of its own. To many, it looked like the mentor had tossed her own protege into the deep end with no life vest. And poor Halle, Polo Tink Tink still hasn't even dropped a debut solo album. Fans say that's no accident. The problem lies in how Beyonce runs Parkwood. She treats it the same way she treats her personal brand, tight-lipped, heavily controlled, and always revolving around her own schedule and priorities. But here's the thing, up-and-coming artists don't thrive in silence. They need constant press, interviews, social media buzz, and that steady drip of content to cut through the noise of the industry. Instead, Parkwood signees often get left hanging with inconsistent promotion and little spotlight. Chloe and Halle themselves admitted most of Beyonce's mentorship comes in the form of letters she mails them. Letters! That's not guidance. That's a pen pal relationship dressed up as leadership. At times, Beyonce's whole aura of mystique and perfectionism sets an impossible bar for these young artists. It's like they're expected to mirror her flawless image, but without the army of stylists, producers, and global platforms she's had for decades. Rather than encouraging individuality, Parkwood can come across like it's trying to churn out mini Beyoncés. And the result? The artists lose their own unique voice and come off as watered-down versions of the boss herself. Fans barely get to see their personalities shine or their creativity pushed in a way that feels authentic and independent. Everything looks filtered through Beyoncé's shadow, and that makes it hard for these artists to stand on their own 2 feet. In the end, being a world-class superstar doesn't automatically mean you know how to run a label, and Parkwood proves that again and again. Beyoncé's entire empire has always been built on one thing: control. She knows how to shape her own narrative, move on her own terms, and keep the world hanging on her every move. But Parkwood's struggles show something deeper. She hasn't created a system that lets other artists do the same. Running a label isn't about mystery or perfection. It takes steady investment, aggressive marketing, and the guts to let artists take risks, even if they fail in front of the world. Without that, no breakout stars, no lasting success. Sure, Beyoncé's name can unlock doors for her signees instantly. Industry credibility? Check. Access to elite producers? Check. The stamp of approval from one of the most powerful women in music? Double check. On paper, signing to Beyoncé's label should be every young artist's dream. But after seeing how Chloe Bailey's debut album was handled, that dream looked more like a nightmare. Fans couldn't help but question if Parkwood was really helping or just setting up their artists to sink. And that brings us to the elephant in the room. When it comes to music, Beyoncé's air of mystery is part of her magic. She's one of the last true pop icons who can vanish for months and then reappear out of nowhere with an album, stopping the entire world in its tracks. Her rare interviews, her carefully chosen appearances, her tightly choreographed rollouts, they all build this aura of grandeur that keeps her untouchable. The less she speaks, the more the public speculates. And in the world of pop stardom, speculation equals hype. But here's the catch. When she tries to run her business ventures the same way, that silence and secrecy don't translate. In industries like fashion, beauty, and lifestyle, people want interaction, visibility, and connection. Instead of magic, mystery just turns into missed sales, fading hype, and products that flop off the shelves. In business, customers crave connection. They don't just want a product. They want to feel like they're buying into a lifestyle they can touch, see, and relate to. That's why Rihanna's Fenty and Kim Kardashian's Skims blew up the way they did. Both founders are constantly online, showing themselves using the products, talking directly to their fans, and proving that the brands fit seamlessly into their real lives. Beyoncé, on the other hand, rarely lets anyone behind the velvet rope. That distance may protect her image as an icon, but in business, it can make her products feel cold, almost abandoned, once the initial launch frenzy fades. People want to believe in the lifestyle, not just the logo. Another trap is the assumption that fame alone can keep a brand afloat forever. Yes, Beyoncé's celebrity status is unmatched. She can sell out stadiums, crash streaming platforms, and have the whole world watching her next move. But consumer loyalty doesn't work the same way. You can't build long-term sales on hype alone, and Beyoncé's ventures often gamble on that first tidal wave of excitement without putting in the long, slow grind of nurturing the customer base afterward. And let's talk about relatability, because that's where her competitors eat. When Rihanna posts a barefaced selfie applying Fenty Skin, or Kim films herself in a dressing room casually plugging Skims, fans can see themselves in those exact same moments. It feels real, like they're in on the experience. With Beyoncé, the distance is glaring. Nobody actually believes she's running errands in an Ivy Park tracksuit or throwing on her own branded athleisure for a Target run. Without those raw, humanizing moments, her products lose their everyday appeal. They stop feeling like essentials and start looking like collectibles, pretty, exclusive, but not practical. And that's the quiet truth behind Beyoncé's business track record. The launches come with fireworks, the marketing is spotless, the hype feels unstoppable, until suddenly it isn't. At the end of the day, Beyonce remains untouchable in music. Nobody's denying that. She's one of the few living legends who can drop a surprise album at midnight and break the internet without saying a word. But when it comes to her business empire, the cracks are too loud to ignore. Fashion lines that vanished, fragrances left to collect dust on drugstore shelves, vegan meal kits that disappeared without explanation, Ivy Park collapsing under Adidas's weight, and Parkwood's artists struggling in silence. It all paints a picture the Hive doesn't like to talk about. And that's the irony. Beyonce thrives on mystery in music, but in business, that same secrecy backfires. Unlike Rihanna or Kim K, she's never built that "I'm just like you" connection with consumers. Fans worship her on stage, but when it comes to buying her lifestyle products, there's a disconnect. People don't feel like she's using them herself, so the illusion fades fast. The truth is, star power can get you a seat at the table, but it doesn't guarantee you'll keep it. In industries like fashion and beauty, it takes consistency, relatability, and grit, not just a one-time spectacle. Beyonce's pattern has been clear: explosive launches with perfect visuals followed by silence, fading sales, and sudden disappearances. The hype always starts loud but never sticks around. What makes it sting even more is the impact on those who trusted her brand. Chloe Bailey's flop became a trending topic, Halle's solo career still feels stalled, Ivy Park fans were left hanging after the Adidas split, and consumers who once bought into her ventures now side-eye the next rollout, wondering if it's just another temporary play. So maybe the real question isn't whether Beyonce is a bad businesswoman, it's whether she even wants to be one. Her energy has always been centered on music, performance, and legacy, not the day-to-day grind of selling products. And in the business world, that lack of commitment shows. One thing's for sure, Beyonce will always own the stage. But the boardroom, that crown might be slipping. The lights fade, the partnerships dissolve, and the products disappear as if they were never even here. One day it's headlines and hype, the next day, silence. None of it takes away from Beyonce's dominance as an artist, her unmatched legacy on stage, or the way she's redefined what it means to be a global superstar. But when you step outside the arena, the story shifts. What her track record really shows is that even the most powerful brand in music doesn't automatically translate into long-term success in business. Because here's the truth, star power can kick the door wide open, but it's strategy, consistency, and adaptability that keep you inside the room. And time after time, Beyonce's ventures have struggled to maintain that fire once the spotlight dims. House of Darion vanished, Heat lost its sizzle, Ivy Park stumbled, 22 Days Nutrition fizzled, and Parkwood's artists are still fighting to find their footing. It's a pattern the industry has noticed, and fans are starting to notice too. That doesn't erase her reign as a performer. Nobody can touch her there.
How does Beyonce spend $500 million? Now, Beyonce wasn't born into wealth and grew up in a middle-class family, but she used her amazing talent to become a household name and made a substantial amount of money from her music, tours, and endorsements. So how does she spend it? Well, Beyonce's first big purchase was a $5 million condo overlooking Central Park. And since then, she's bought at least 10 more mansions for a grand total of $350 million. She also owns a Mercedes with a $150,000 sound system. But Beyonce also spends an eye-opening amount of money on her family. She gifted Jay-Z a $2 million Bugatti for his birthday. And for Father's Day, he got a $40 million jet. But that's not all, because Beyonce gifted Blue Ivy an $80,000 diamond-encrusted Barbie for her first birthday.
But in the world of fashion, beauty, and lifestyle, Beyonce hasn't conquered the stage the same way. The aura of mystery that makes her a goddess in music becomes a liability in business. Fans don't just want perfection, they want relatability. They want to feel like they're part of the story, and without that, the connection fades fast. So while Beyonce will forever run the charts, crash streaming platforms, and sell out stadiums in minutes, the boardroom is still a battlefield she hasn't mastered. Maybe she doesn't want to, or maybe she just hasn't found the right formula yet. Either way, it proves that even legends can stumble when the lights aren't aimed at the stage. Now let's hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Did these business flops surprise you, or do you think Beyonce has another big comeback waiting outside of music? If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to smash that like button, share this with your crew, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story. And don't go anywhere. The next video on your screen is packed with even more celebrity drama you won't want to miss. See you on the next one. Next.